And we do want to continue this conversation. As we heard there, what will this merger mean for you and your phone or your internet bill? I do want to bring in Graham Williams. He's a technology expert at getconnectedmedia.com. He's in Vancouver. Graham, I hope you got a chance to hear a little bit of what we were talking about there. But let me get your take. Is this good or bad news for Canadians in your eyes?
This is horrific. Honestly, I heard this morning and I was so disappointed, but not at all surprised.
So as we mentioned, Rogers, they already own Fido. Shaw owns Freedom Mobile. So if this deal goes through, that's essentially three companies that Rogers owns, less competition. So the big question is, will we see prices go up?
We absolutely will, and they've already said that they will do that. The idea that we're going to be grandfathered in over the course of the next 3 years is just basically a tacit promise that in 3 years' time, your prices are going to go up. Rogers has done this before. They had their Chatter brand along with Fido, along with their Rogers brand. It just gives you the illusion of competition. We've seen this across the entire industry, and anytime that there's a new player that comes into play, Virgin Mobile being one of them, essentially, all of the other players scramble to make it look like there is competition in that space and then slowly eat away until they get back to where they were as the only players in the market.
So, last year the government told the big three companies that they had to cut their cell phone prices by 25% by 2022. And, they've already taken some steps to curb some of the highest cell phone prices in the world. So what more do you think needs to be done in terms of regulating the telecom industry?
To be honest, everything. When we take a look at regulation, when we take a look at what's been done so far, the key things that could be done, which essentially is, putting a price per gigabyte that the vendors could charge, hasn't been done, and it could. Basically the way that the federal government has handled this, they've said, play nice. We're gonna get you to do a few things here, and we're not going to drop the hammer. This is such an interesting move because now essentially Rogers and Shaw have kind of looked back at the federal government and thrown the glove down on the ground and said, your move. Regulation is something that I think a lot of federal governments in the past have been very, very shy of. But when we're looking at this industry and we have these three major players, what was four major players and hopefully will continue to be four major players, they have had unrestricted access to do whatever they want in this space. And it has been detrimental to the consumer. The moment that we start seeing regulations enter into the space and we see a new competitor brought in with Shaw buying the spectrum, we see competition. We saw that $40 6 gigabyte plan that everyone ran to, and within hours, TELUS and Rogers and Bell all had something fairly equivalent to it. That's what competition looks like. And I can't help but think that Bell and TELUS are rubbing their hands as well because they're being rid of this meddlesome priest that is Shaw by Rogers taking them out.
Right. As this year, this is all happening in the backdrop of a year where we're learning how important and how vital telecom is. It's not a privilege, really. It's a necessity. And consumers don't have a choice. They kind of just have to take the price that is given to them, and if they have, many less options, they're kind of stuck. So what can consumers do when they're watching this, they're seeing more mergers happen? Is there anything that they can do if they are concerned about affordability of telecom in Canada?
Absolutely. I mean, the Competition Bureau is there to advocate on our behalf. I would ask, that people start to think about some more creative solutions, which is when we think about our infrastructure, our roads, our water systems, our electrical systems, they belong to the people. Right now, we have basically paid the big three and others to build this infrastructure with our tax dollars over the course of the last 50 years. There is an opportunity now where we can basically look at these companies and say, you know what, you can have access to this system, but we built this. You built it, but we paid you to do so. And maybe it's time for us to say, either one, we need a national telecom player that will provide some competition, or two, we need to nationalize that infrastructure network, just like we have with our roads, because these are the roads of the future. And at that point, companies like this can lease the access back from us.
All right, Graham Williams with getconnectedmedia.com in Vancouver tonight. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.